Take 15, a Take 3 Wrestling podcast. We're live. It's me, Mike Bernier. I'm joined by the only other guy who's appeared on 91.4% of these, Joe Lopez.
Have I missed one?
Just the dates that we didn't record.
So I've not missed any of these. It's just we've missed them overall.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm still the Iron Man.
That's because Ernest doesn't know how to record.
No, he's I don't know. He's the potty trainer.
Intellectually challenged?
Yes.
All right. So we're here today. It's Saturday, 12 o'clock on the East Coast of the United States of America. Last time we joined you for an emergency podcast of this nature, one Bray Wyatt was released.
Yeah.
We're here today to talk about some more releases.
Not as impactful.
Some of them may end up on Impact.
They might.
Maybe it'll be impactful for them.
I like that.
Thank you. Last night, a slew of NXT releases took place about 9 o'clock at night. We're going to talk about them.
Can we talk about, just for 1 second, how shitty is it at 9 p.m. on a Friday night to find out you've lost your job? That's shitty.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
That's like, anything else aside, I don't care if you've not been used in 5 months on NXT. I don't care if you're absolutely a complete and utter nobody. You were getting a paycheck every week and all of a sudden you got your pink slip at 9 p.m. on a Friday. Goddamn. Like, that's just rude.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the timing, but it is what it is. So we're going to go through the list. We're going to talk about them a little bit here. Talk about what's next for the people that were released and maybe what's next for the yellow and gold brand moving forward. We'll start with the name that I believe is the most upsetting and shocking of the list.
Yeah.
And that is the former North American champion Bronson Reed. Reed, the 32-year-old from Adelaide, South Australia. He won the title from... Who did he win it from?
Did he beat Gargano?
He did beat Gargano.
I was like, everyone beats Gargano for the North American title.
Everyone just beats Johnny in general.
Yep.
This is coming from the Johnny Gargano fan. He won that. And then he defended it with MSK against the Legado del Fantasma in a winner-takes-all match before shockingly dropping it to Swerve.
Right.
This was something that all of us, when Swerve won the title, we were like, what the hell? I mean, I know Hit Row got involved, and it kind of led to the schmoz finish.
Yes.
But Bronson never got a rematch, and I think we were all kind of like, well, what the fuck is going on?
Well, then he started showing up on, like, dark matches as soon as they started going live again on, like, Raw and SmackDown. He did a couple of dark matches, I think.
He defeated Adam Cole on the July 27th episode of NXT, and then just like that, he's gone.
Yeah. It was weird. That's a weird one. It seems like they were really about ready to give him a main roster push, and now all of a sudden he got pushed out the door instead. It's very strange.
Yeah, I don't understand it. He was a very, very, very good wrestler.
How old is he?
He's 32.
So, okay, there's one theory that's going on out there that I've read, that they're trying to repackage NXT as a whole to be towards younger talents, i.e. guys under the age of 30. If that's true, I mean, it's a dumbass reason, but that could be one of the reasons why Bronson Reed is gone. Now, I don't know how you then explain for your Johnny Garganos and Kyle O'Reilly,
Adam Cole.
Unless they're going to start moving those guys to the main rosters, to Raw and SmackDown. But I don't know, like that certainly fits. Like, maybe they are like planning on pushing those guys to the main rosters, and maybe Bronson Reed got his tryout dark matches. They decided, hey, we're not really feeling this guy, but we're also not looking to have guys his age on NXT anymore, so there's not really anywhere else to put him at that point.
Yeah, what are we developing him for?
Right, exactly.
But then if that's the narrative, I guess let's talk about another name that was released late last night, 26-year-old Jake Atlas.
That's a weird one. Maybe they just weren't feeling him. I mean, he hasn't exactly, like, I'm a fan, but he hasn't, like, super lit the world on fire in NXT. The last time he really did anything worthwhile...
205 Live, the Cruiserweight title.
But how often do they actually care about 205 Live? I'm surprised they still even produce 205 Live, quite frankly.
I didn't know really that they did until about like a week and a half ago. After they released all of the guys from 205 Live, I literally thought they just stopped doing 205 Live.
I think I saw a headline on like Pro Wrestling Insider last night, like the write up for 205 Live, where they were just like, "Hey, 4 guys come to enter this show. 2 of them don't have jobs by tomorrow."
So another name after talking about Jake Atlas, who I think could be big out on the open market. Another guy that doesn't fit that build of the young guy getting released, former North American champion Leon Ruff. He's 25.
Yeah, but he was always getting like the Colin Delaney run here, wasn't he?
I don't know. They literally tried to make him like into something. It wasn't like that he was just.
Yeah.
I mean, he had the feud with Swerve.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. You know, lost to Pete Dunne.
Right.
Wasn't around for a couple months. And then was released on the same night that his last match took place, obviously, because, you know, that's what they do on 205 Live.
Right.
If you're going to release the older statesmen, like, I get it. But releasing Atlas and...
guys like Leon Ruff.
I'm looking up one...
Wasn't one of the guys in the Breakout tournament also released? I thought I read that somewhere. I don't know how old he is or young he is or whatever.
Let me see if I can find the Breakout tournament bracket. NXT Breakout. Yeah, so it just... I don't know that... Like, I don't get that this is like a thing here. It's very frustrating that they've decided to just, you know, punt.
Yeah.
Let's see. I don't think they got rid of anyone. It was Trey Baxter, Joe Gacy, Odyssey Jones, Andre Chase, Josh Briggs, Carmelo Hayes, Eichmann Hero, and Duke Hudson.
One of those guys I think is at least gone.
No, I don't think so. I'm looking at the list compared to who was released.
Okay.
None of those names match. Maybe an alternate for it.
Oh, maybe. I swear I thought I read that somewhere.
Also, other notable name released. And this one is one that will hurt the hearts of many people that have watched the Yellow and Gold brand for a long time. Former Undisputed Era member Bobby Fish.
That one kind of sucks. I'm not going to lie. It stings. I was really hoping that we would see the 4-way between those guys before all was said and done. Obviously, we're not going to end up seeing that. That's officially gone at this point. But I don't know. It's disappointing. But you also do sort of get it, because talk about someone who's definitely older than 30. I mean,
44.
Bobby Fish is 44, right? And just came back from a bunch of injuries and stuff. He's a guy, you know, there's always a lot of talk about, like, oh, well, these guys end up in AEW and stuff like that. He's one that I don't actually think is going to end up in AEW, / I don't think AEW particularly needs to make room for him. I would love to see him back in Ring of Honor. Or I'd love to see him show up on, like, New Japan Strong or something like that. I don't need him in AEW.
Give me Bobby Fish versus Jonathan Gresham for the Ring of Honor Pure title.
I mean, that would be friggin' awesome, honestly.
I could get behind that.
Yeah, exactly.
Another name that was released last night that is potentially a name that could end up in the AEW land of misfit toys, as I will call that division. That is the women's division, and that is Mercedes Martinez. Yeah,
and she's probably, to me, the biggest get that AEW could grab out of this list of people, because as we've established, their women's division still needs a lot of developing, a lot of help with that. Not only does she become an instant talent that you could push pretty high on the card in and of herself, but she's also a certified veteran of the pro wrestling industry.
She's
40. Been around for a long time. She's 40. She could very easily go there and help develop the women that they have, the younger women, you know, your Red Velvets and your Jade Carthill and all those kinds of women. Your, what's that woman, the MMA woman?
Oh, legit Layla Hirsch?
Yeah, like her, like, honestly, even girls like Penelope Ford and stuff, you put them, not even just in the ring, but even backstage, like, you give them the chance to work with a Mercedes Martinez. Like, Mercedes could become what, like, Sarah Del Rey became for WWE as a trainer backstage, if Mercedes isn't interested in being on screen again. But I would, if I were her, I'd want to be on screen, too, in AEW, because, like I said, like, of all of the divisions in AEW right now, the women's division is probably the one that is the most wide open, where you can show up in that company, and if you're legit in any capacity, you could actually get a decent push.
Yeah. Also, other names released: Giant Zangier. I think he had one match on like the one of those Indian shows.
Okay.
Ari Sterling, Kona Reeves, who we've seen multiple times at NXT tapings as like the in between the show matches.
Yeah.
Been with the company for a long time and never really got a main NXT.
No. And they never really like settled on a character for him. I feel like we saw him doing so many different things. I enjoyed, there was like 5 minutes where he was playing like a Ric Flair-esque character.
Yeah, he was the finest. He came out with the blonde hair.
That was pretty good, but they never really went anywhere with him. He's someone who I could see again on the indie scene. You know, the funny thing is, I saw someone tweet this the other last night or this morning. Nobody famous or anything like that, I don't think. But someone put out a tweet that said, 5 years ago, WWE killed the independent wrestling scene in America. Last night and in the last few weeks, they've basically kind of given birth back to the indie scene in America. Because they've released enough talents where, like, if you're an MLW or you're a Ring of Honor or you're even just like an upstart little company that's trying to get some attention, these are the kind of guys who, they might not be big names, they might not be the guys who all of a sudden are getting you people in, right away, like new fans and stuff, but you still need a good roster in order to put on shows.
Yeah.
Like, that's factually a thing. There's a reason why Ring of Honor in the last few years, it's felt like they had like 12 people on their roster and that's it, because at some times, I'm pretty sure that's all they had on their roster. Now, all of a sudden, there's actually a huge pool of talent out there again. Like, a Jake Atlas could make his name in Ring of Honor. He really could if given the chance. He's not going to come in and be the main eventer.
No.
He's not going to come in and right off the bat be the guy who gets to fight against Jay Lethal for, like, any kind of glory or anything like that. But he could easily come in and be a guy who builds up from the bottom and becomes a huge star there.
Absolutely. Other name, Asher Hale. And finally, we'll talk about this one. This one surprised me a lot. That is the name of one Tyler Rust, part of the Diamond Mind.
How old is he?
I'll go look real quick.
Let's see if there's any base to that theory.
I think he's actually young.
I mean, but were you a fan of his? Other than the fact that, like, I'm surprised that they released him because they've been pushing him. Because obviously you put him in a new stable. Granted, maybe they feel like the stable isn't working out or something like that, or they're just going to put in somebody else.
Maybe it does make sense that they got rid of him.
Why? How old is he?
34.
There you go. I mean, now granted, Roddy is definitely over 30. And I'm sure that the other guy that's in the group is probably, he might be young. I actually don't know how old he is. But I don't know, like, at the end of the day, if Roddy is getting called up to the main roster, if, like, all of this is true in theory, then, or who knows, maybe the idea is, like, they're going to focus on guys under 30, but you're still going to have, like, 5 or 6 guys to be kind of the anchors of NXT, like your Garganos and your Strongs and your Samoa Joe and stuff like that. You look confused. Why do you look confused?
The gentleman that's also part of the Diamond Mine, the Asian gentleman. Want to take a guess how old he is?
42.
41!
He looks it. No offense to him at all. He looks good for a 41.
Okay, he signed as a coach.
Okay.
And then began working as Haichi Man as part of the Diamond Mine stable. So he may not actually wrestle. Okay. He may be like the MMA coach.
Guy. Yeah,
Bivens is the Don King.
Yeah.
Hutchiman is the coach of Mike Tyson and Roderick Strong.
So maybe this is all just for Roddy, like to give Roddy a big singles push. Because I really could see, just because they say that they're going to focus on guys under the age of 30, you're also not turning around tomorrow and having none of your stars.
established guys.
Right. So I could
see Gargano,
Strong, right? Maybe Adam Cole. I've heard rumor that they've offered Adam Cole possibly a really big contract.
$1 million.
You saw that one too.
$1 million.
If that's actual got any truth to it, there's no way he shows up
Sign
on NXT.
me.
Yes.
Sign.
I mean, he's going to stay number one, but number two, he's going to end up on SmackDown or Raw for that kind of money. He's not making that money in NXT.
No.
So, but like, I could see them with, look, we all know that Samoa Joe's about to become the NXT World Champion. Obviously, you're not putting the belt on him and then having this, like, under 30 initiative where, like, you have nobody.
No, and the thing is, you also have to keep it as somewhat of a draw for the takeover shows. You have to have some talent on there.
At least for a year or so.
Having guys like Roddy, Gargano.
Yeah.
Even to an extent, you'll leave the Pete Dunne,
Yeah.
Oney Lorcan, guys like that,
Yeah.
Walter, Imperium,
Exactly.
stuff like that. So there's still some kind of a draw there.
Exactly. And
Makes
it gives
sense.
you, and it gives you like a good 6 months to a year to start building up your under 30 crowd. And granted, I don't know, this would be a good topic for the main show, maybe later this week. Looking at the under 30 wrestlers that are in NXT and trying to figure out which guys actually have that potential to become, like, within a year,
So you're
the
telling me-
big stars.
What you're telling me is I need to make a spreadsheet.
Yeah, I feel like that's worth it.
All right,
feel
I guess
we
I
can
guess
start
I guess
doing
I
a
have some
little
work to do
research.
tonight.
So doing a little research.
Other names released, and then we'll get out of here. WWE Performance Center talent Zachariah Smith, and then late last night about 11 o'clock, Desmond Troy, whose name was Denzel Dejanay, went out and said that he was released. For those of you that don't know about Desmond Troy, a.k.a. Denzel, he was a former NCAA wrestler that signed in July of 2018. He wrestled on the July 2nd edition of 205 Live, losing to Joe Gacy. He had not wrestled before that, before losing to Karrion Kross. He made a few main rosters appearances, working as like security guards, and was one of the elite Nigerian guards for one Apollo Crews. So that brings the total to 13 NXT talents total were released last night. Again, the big shocker there, Bronson Reed, even to an extent, the Tyler Rust character being gone is also a little bit of a question. But the rest of it, it's guys that either they decided to cut on. And here's the thing. We talked about it before. Joe mentioned it that they killed the independents. WWE hoarded a lot of talent for a lot of time.
Yes.
And we've talked about that, about them trying to control the market.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say that AEW had a direct correlation with this. It may have,
yeah.
but I also think that it could be time for them to crunch numbers. It's also one of those things. We talk about budget cuts. When your roster is inflated by that many people that you're paying to not actually use, sometimes it's time to shit or get off the pot.
You know, it's funny. I do wonder at what point AEW is going to have to start making cuts itself, because your
or just
roster,
not signing anybody else.
Either not signing anybody else or starting to make some cuts. That's why we did that topic on last week's. Go back, listen to our show from this past week, the longer show.
Not this.
Oh, no, 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. Go back, listen to that. We kind of gave our idea of, like, who would you cut if you were making some AEW roster cuts. Because at the end of the day, they have over 100 people on that roster as it is. They're showing no real signs of stopping signing new people. Some big names, some small names. Like, they're obviously... that eventually... You can't have a roster that's 200 people long when you're one company that only has like 4 shows a week, and really only 2 shows a week that are on TV.
Watch.
Right, exactly. So at the end of the day, like, they're going to end up in a place like any business, that any company in any business in the world, they're going to end up in a place where they have to start making cuts. And my question is, are people going to react to them the same way that they react to WWE?
No chance.
I mean, I don't know. The wrestling fans like to be angry at wrestling companies for whatever reason.
Well, I'll say this much, and we'll end it here, and we'll let you guys stew on this one. The only way they get angry is if it's a name they love.
Right.
If they release Darby Allin after the accused allegations that have come out against him, which we're not going to talk about because that's all they are, is allegations with no...
Yeah, we're not getting into that.
True meaning or whatever. If something comes out within the next couple of days, we may talk about it on another episode. But fans love him. They release him, you might get some Ravaged fans.
Yeah.
Fans won't get pissed off if they decide tomorrow, you know what, Frankie Kazarian got to go.
Yeah. Yeah, true.
I mean, that's the thing. It's that fickleness of, like, we want them here now, but we don't want, this guy.
Yeah.
So it's why I take my thought process. So we'll leave that at that, and I'm going to finish this with one last question here for you, Joe, and then we'll kick some rocks.
Here, you want to read this real quick?
Oh, let me read.
I just saw this. Worth.
All right, the Fightful has learned that a couple of hours before SmackDown, Adam Cole was taken directly to Vince McMahon's office in something that was said to appeared to be a high priority to McMahon himself. One source high up in the WWE said that they heard that the meeting went well, and Vince seemed to have taken a liking to Adam Cole on a personal level. People backstage at SmackDown said Cole was not around during the show. WWE had originally hoped to bring Cole in the Friday before SmackDown in Minnesota, but switched it to the following week in Tampa for logistical reasons. Fightful has been informed that there have been pitches for Cole for both Raw and SmackDown over the last week if he were to re-sign with the WWE. Sources tell us that it's been communicated to Cole that he is wanted on the main roster.
That's an interesting one. Adam Cole just became the hottest free agent in pro wrestling.
While still signed to a contract.
All
right, I'm going to leave it with this, and then we're going to get out of here. NXT Takeover 36. Is this the final true takeover that we get?
I don't know. It could be.
Is this the end of Takeover being the show of the weekend?
It really depends. You know, the thing is, there have been a lot of times where that roster has been changed so radically, and we all kind of thought that it wasn't going to be that great. And they've built stars. They've made guys matter. They've made matches matter. I think it's possible. I think it's possible that things will have an upswing. I think it really just depends on what they do with the roster and what they do with who they have left in a lot of ways between now and the next 6 months to a year. NXT is about to enter basically a rebuilding period at a time when I don't know that anyone expected them to need a rebuilding period. But then again, it's not like they haven't been kind of stale for a while in a lot of ways too. The roster really hasn't changed that radically in the last 2 years. So maybe it's not the worst timing, honestly.
All right, we'll leave you guys with that. Think about what you guys think about that. If you want to respond on Twitter at @take3wrestling or on the other social medias, Facebook and Instagram. Look up @take3wrestling. You can follow me on Twitter at @TheyCallMeBurn. Follow Ernest at EJChristian7. Joe can be followed on JLo Sugar. We'll be back probably Tuesday with a recap of what happened on Monday Night Raw unless something else crazy happens over the next 48 hours. And then we'll be back for the weekly shows. Big show coming up on the week where we start talking about some SummerSlam stuff as we lead into the pay-per-view in a couple of weeks. So for Take 15 and Take 3 Wrestling Podcast, for Joe, I'm Mike. We'll see you guys later.